Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Charles IJ. To our first story, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation has announced the acquisition of 7% commercial interest in both the Jubilee and 10 blocks from Occidental Petroleum for a purchase price of $199 million with effect from the 1st April 2021. Now, this is in line with GNPC and government strategy of increasing its participation of stakes in viable oil blocks. The acquisition adds to GNPC's existing carried and participating interest of 13.64% in the Jubilee field and the 15% in the 10 field. In a statement to this regard, the GNPC says the interest acquired will be transferred to GNPC's subsidiary, which is the GNPC Exploration and Production Company. Well, with this acquisition, GNPC Exploco will become part of the contractor group for the two blocks, together with Tullow, Petro SA and Cosmos Energy. Well, let's break this all down because we're joined via Zoom by energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana for some expert analysis on the prospect of this move on the Ghanaian economy. We're so grateful that you could join us. What does this mean for the GNPC?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Charles. I hope you can hear me, Charles.
You're loud and clear. Thank
you. In generally, if you look at the market in the upstream industry, whenever oil prices are going up or down, that is when you begin to hear this kind of mergers and acquisitions. And these are all strategic moves by, upstream players, just to increase their stake and gain strategic advantage whenever it is necessary. So overall, what I think is, I thought that this is an excellent move. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because, Charles, if you look at our current state within the fields that we have, in fact, we are resource owners. As a matter of fact, if you look at our interests, as in our percentage in the field that are currently existent, just like we've mentioned, 13%, 15%, and then I think ENI 20%. That is so little. But if you look at the quantum of money that we gain from even this little amount of this kind of percentages that we are enjoying, we are estimating over 800 million. So just look at the fact, just imagine if we can increase our stake to, let's say, 20%, 30%, or even 50%. That is huge money. Of course, it comes with commitment. This is a commercial interest, which means that we're going to pay for that. But I think even paying for that in the long run is an excellent move, because every upstream player at the end of the day is supposed to be gravitating to what we call a standalone operatorship. And before it can be a standalone operatorship, one of the requirements, not a major requirement, but it is prerequisite that you become a majority shareholder, or you have a lot of stake, And so, to the extent that we are having less than 20 in these fields, in the 10 and the Jubilee fields, acquiring more stake, moving us to a higher percentage. First of all, when the proceeds are coming, we're going to gain a lot. Then secondly, it will enhance our capability of gravitating to, a standalone operatorship. And I think that is the way to go if you do that. Because at the end of the day, when the returns are coming, it comes with the percentage that you are contributing. Yeah.
But does it mean that enough revenue for infrastructure projects now that we're trying to own our reserves this time around?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's a strategic move. I mean, it's a move that it's like a trade-off. You may have to trade off something, to gain another thing. So at the end of the day, we may need this money for other, projects such as infrastructure or whatever. But I want to look beyond that, Charles. It is always good to sacrifice today and then benefit tomorrow.
All right.
I'm saying that because it will come to a time that most of our players may begin to leave. And see, Occidental is just giving out some of their shares. Maybe tomorrow, Tullow, ENI, or whatever, they also want to give out their shares. So we have to prepare ourselves to be a strategic position to be able to gain these shares whenever it becomes available. And when we do gain them, the advantage is what I mentioned, two advantages. First of all, it will help us in the standalone operatorship. And when the proceeds are coming, it will come in quantums that will commensurate with whatever our participating interests or participating rights are. So I think it's an excellent move. Yes, we have to trade off something, but we have to think about tomorrow. So that when our existing players, at a point in time, they decide to say that they are fed up, playing in Ghana, or their commercial interest is no more met once they are existing in Ghana and they decide to leave, we are not going to find ourselves wanting. Yeah. So in short, what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, if ENI, Talu, at this moment, mention that they are leaving Ghana, it means that our upstream is going to collapse. I mean, it will gravitate to a halt. That's what it means, because we are not in a position, to be a standalone operator. So all these moves, I think it is a move in the right direction, not now, but in future, so that at the point in time when these players want to leave, Ghana would be in a strategic position, to manage its own affairs, number one, and then also to take care of its destiny. Yeah.
Well, let's now come down to the downstream, because in a related matter with, we want to take your take on full levies being scrapped for the next 2 months. What's your positioning on this?
Yeah, I think it's a good move, a very good starting point. We've been calling for this for quite a long time, and I think the government is beginning to move. It is small, but I think the posture of government at this point is an excellent posture, and I think we have to commend that. For all we know, maybe other moves will come, maybe other taxes will be looked at. Because what is happening, though this tax may not have that drastic, significant impact on the price build-up or what the consumer pays. But what I'm trying to say is that it may end up stabilizing the price, because we are not done yet with the global prices charts. As I speak to you now, we haven't Brent at 84, it's almost 85. So don't be surprised that our players may want to increase prices again, maybe in the next window. So probably if some of the taxes are taken up, when it is time for the PSPs to increase the price, probably it may end up stabilizing the whole thing. So it may not end up reducing the price instantly, but the target is to stabilize the price from going up in perpetuity, like what is happening now. Because yes, prices may go up again, because oil price are around 85.
Great, but even as government steps in, we do understand that consumers are still expected to witness an increase in prices by 7% tomorrow regardless. How do we balance this?
Wow, I'm just hearing this from you for the first time. Of course, this is exactly what I was talking about. In fact, I mentioned that this reduction in taxes has to go along with stability in the global front. What I mean by stability is our currency should be stable, number one. That is our forex, which is not stable as we speak now. Number two, the global oil prices should be stable, which is not stable. So for consumers to stand a better place to benefit, these two indicators have to be stable, because they are all going into the price build-up. And so don't be surprised that, this increment is coming, because oil prices are still rising, and they are rising very fast. So we have to balance the two. Increment of 7% and taking up of this stabilization level, is it able to balance? I doubt that it's going to balance. It's going to be very difficult for consumers to stand a chance to benefit. But I think government could still look at other taxes like SPT and then the rest. But overall, I think the move is a positive one, and we must commend the government for that, because this is difficult. And I'm saying that it's difficult because that is the only thing that is possible for the government to do, to look at the taxes and make sure that the taxes are minimized. When the taxes are minimized, what will happen is that, Charles, it will lubricate the economy. Consumer spending has to be enhanced. If consumer spending is not enhanced, we're going to find ourselves in a difficult situation. That's what we are having now. So removing the taxes, I think, would be an excellent thing to do. And if you look at other taxes, just to help balance. Other than that, they will reduce the taxes, and then the international fronts may not allow consumer to benefit. And I think that is what's going to play out now.
Well, before we let you go, Doctor, we want to just go back to the GNPC matter, because we'll also want to get your understanding of the state of maturity regarding these two fields, more than 10 years in the sector. Is this really worth the investment?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. Unfortunately, I don't have much details about what is currently existing so far as these fields are concerned.
All right.
And so what my understanding is that, or my take, from where I'm coming from as an energy strategist in the upstream and downstream, these things should have been done already. In fact, if GNPC did not do this kind of basic fundamental checks to make sure that these reserves are still viable, and then go into purchasing it, I think it's going to be a very big mistake. But I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that these things have been done. And fortunately, to 10 and Jubilee fields are existing fields. It's only something people can talk about. They have been existing for the past, let's say, 10 years plus. And usually when fields go when fields exist up to a decade, beyond a decade and a half, let's say 15 years, they begin to plateau.
Right.
And then beyond that, production will begin to drop. So those who are saying that they should look at that, I think it's a legitimate call, so just so that we make, we have value for money. But I think GNPC would have done all this. Other than that, they wouldn't go into such a deal, yeah.
Dr. Suleiman, we're grateful that you could join us with your expert analysis once again. He's an energy strategist helping us with matters happening within the upstream sector. Well, brace up for cuts in social benefits if you enjoy to push for the removal of some taxes on petroleum products. That's the warning coming from the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Kwaku Kwarteng. Well, government moved to scrap some levies on fuel for 2 months following the calls in that regard. This is expected to cushion consumers, but Mr. Kwarteng believes this will come with some consequences on the other benefits. He was speaking on PM Express Business Edition with George Riafi.
We should be cautious the way we speak of government budget as though all we care is the relief, what it does to the macro economy, whether it leads to inflation and we ourselves will suffer as a result, we don't care. It's not a very educated feeling, but I guess as human beings, we only can feel what we can immediately feel. So relief is relief now, but I always say that if you take away the relief, something must also be attended. All Ghanaians
should brace themselves because you are taking this and other sectors or certain benefits that you are getting could be affected. That's the clarity I want to get from you.
Yeah, that is a fact. And that's logical.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, some will say.
You say?
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, some will say. A right expression?
Yeah, yes. You see, but that's economic management. In economic management, you cut resources here and put it here. And where you cut it from would be robbing Peter, where you have the benefits. That's what you do in economic management. The important thing is that make sure at each point in time, the robbing and the paying, produce the optimal outcomes. So you want to be sure that you are robbing Peter at the same time, at the right time, and paying it to Paul at the right time, in the right circumstances, to achieve a certain policy intent. That's what you do in economic policy management. So if any government told you that we give the relief, and that relief is like manna from heaven, don't believe that government. That relief will always have to be paid for by the economy. That is why I say calls for a scrapping of these levies may be well intended, and government itself may sit down and strategically say that at this point in our economic management regime, we want to let fuel prices go down for these strategic objectives.
Kwaku Kwarteng, the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee. You're still watching The Marketplace. Two other stories now. The Bank of Ghana is warning the general public to be wary of a money doubling scheme operating in Ghana under the pseudonym World Remit. According to the central bank, the scheme is fraudulent and does not reward investors as promised. There is more in this report. We'll get, thoughts of a financial analyst and lecturer at the Finance Department of the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Ammar, shortly. But first, take a listen to this report. According to the central bank, this fraudulent scheme is distinct from the globally renowned fintech World Remit, which is in the business of international fund transfers. This scheme encourages customers to select preferred packages, following which a code is generated by the fraudsters, with which they obtain the WhatsApp account of their victims for spurious purposes. The Bank of Ghana cautions against patronage of this and other similar unsanctioned schemes, adding it has not licensed any entity or individual engaged in money doubling. It advised the public to verify the licensing status of persons or entities prior to depositing funds with them, as well as place deposits only with institutions licensed by the Bank of Ghana. It also cautioned the public not to participate in this illegal and fraudulent activity to avoid loss of funds, but then added that any individual or entity that participates in such or similar schemes does so at their own peril. And that was a Business Desk report on the Bank of Ghana cautioning the public against World Remit money doubling scheme. Financial analyst and lecturer at the Finance Department of the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Ammar, joins us via Zoom with some education on Ponzi schemes. Doctor, we're grateful that you could join us. We understand that World Remit has been in existence for more than a year now. What do you make of the warning from the Bank of Ghana? Is it late?
Thank you. The timing of the information is very much characteristics of the operations of this scheme. You can never get the timing right because these schemes will always contract with unsuspecting victims, and it is from these victims and from their advertisement that the regulator will get a hint of it. The regulator will have to investigate before coming out with the information. So at each point in time, the regulator may be seen to be coming in too late. That is what we call the regulator's dilemma. At what point in time will you come in? And at what point in time can you prevent the havoc? So it is the right time. Unfortunately, though, some individuals may have fallen victim to this scheme. And then there is no perfect time than when the regulator comes in to inform the public.
Also, educate us more on the regulator's dilemma, because it also begs the question about the efficacy of various policies that often fish out these, Ponzi schemes.
You see, the regulator has the market conduct support service to picking information from the ground when it comes to fraudulent activities of this nature. On the other hand, it is the consumers who contract and have the responsibility to report these activities to the regulator. I realize that before the regulator will have a good picture of these schemes, individuals may have committed their resources to the schemes already. Now, the regulator, when the regulator picks the information, the regulator must stop the activities. Anytime the regulator stops the activities, they are going to be victims. If the regulator refuses to stop the activities, the effect or the damage of these activities will be so much. So the regulator, whether they come to stop now, will lead to losses. Any day they hold on without stopping will also lead to losses. So for the regulator, you will always be blamed when you come out to stop these activities. And that is where sometimes we blame the regulator, not because the regulator is sleeping on the job. It's simply because these fraudsters will always be one step ahead of the regulator. That is how come the regulator is always seen to be sleeping on the job, but not because in actual fact the regulator is sleeping on the job. That is what the dilemma is.
Each and every year, we get to have, warnings of this nature. Last year, for example, we saw the Securities and Exchange Commission pose a warning against the Shy Venture, that's a Chinese money doubling firm. Is it possible to rid the country of these schemes, or at best mitigate any devastating impact?
Unfortunately, the answer is no, because you see, the fraudsters, the operators of this Ponzi, pyramid, and networking scheme will always be in the financial system attempting to defraud unsuspecting consumers. It is more of financial education, and this time around, it should be more of digital financial literacy. Because if you look at the train of financial services we are now getting, it is more of the digital divide. So we need to now put aside resources that will be targeting these channels to make it difficult for them for the fraudsters to operate. So I'm sorry, we are not going to have an end to these fraudulent activities, but the regulators must collaborate among themselves. Bank of Ghana, SEC, NIC, MPRA, they all have a responsibility to collaborate. Again, currently, the regulators are too far from the consumers. Because you need information from the consumers who have been defrauded or are likely to be defrauded, the system for reporting these fraudulent activities should not be too far from the consumers.
All right.
Let us have system that makes it easy for the consumer to report. If we are talking about protecting the entire financial system infrastructure, then why don't we use the bank branches? Why don't we use a police that is closer to us? Why don't we use all the institutions that we have licensed as centers that an individual who suspects a defrauded activity can go and report, so that the central bank can pick on the information and investigate? The regulator must get closer to the consumers if they are to win the battle, and also to do some financial education and financial literacy.
All right, I just want us to end in just about a minute on this question about how do we save World Remit proper, the legitimate company, as well as, sweep away the pseudo company which is operating this particular Ponzi scheme, from your perspective as a financial analyst?
We need to crack down. Let's go into the information and then trace the pseudo World Remit and then deal harshly with them. And then also, World Remit itself must also come out to educate the public that we are genuine and we are not part of this fake World Remit that is defrauding unsuspecting consumers of financial products.
Great. Dr. Benjamin Ammar, we're so grateful that you could join us. He's a financial analyst and lecturer at the Finance Department of the University of Ghana Business School. Many thanks once again. But still to come in the bulletin, plans far advanced for the formalization and setting up of the standards for the informal sector. We'll hear from the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodoo.
We realize that formalization will take three forms: a policy, which the NDPC is leading, and which we are hoping will be part of the national quality policy that government will be considering this year, 2021.
Now, plans are far advanced for the formalization and setting up of standards for the informal economy in the country. According to the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodoo, the authority is closely working with informal sector players to secure licenses and set standards for the operations. He spoke to Joy Business at the Precision Quality Market Conference, an initiative that brings together various stakeholders to discuss industry issues and strategies to create jobs and attain industry standards.
The Precision Quality Movement forms part of DTI's strategy to improve the work skills of 5,000 mastercraft persons and 1,000 SMEs through the Precision Quality Curriculum Training Program. Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodoo, says most players in the informal sector have expressed interest in acquiring licenses that will allow them meet global standards.
The question was that how do we formalize these people since they form the bulk of our economy? Looking across the world, from the UK to Europe as we know it in America, the non-government sector contributes the biggest amount of jobs. You might call them micro, small, or medium-scale enterprises. We realize that formalization will take three forms: a policy, which the NDPC is leading, and which we are hoping will be part of the national quality policy that government will be considering this year, 2021. In addition, the laws of Ghana, the Standards Act, gives the Standards Authority the power to adopt procedures or processes as standards or as guidelines, practice guidelines. And the laws of Ghana allows the Standards Authority, where it has given a guideline, to give a license to those who are practicing according to that guideline.
And that'll be all for the bulletin. I'm Charles IIT. But for more news, you log on to myjoyonline.com, where you can get updates in the world of business. We've been discussing the matter of GNPC and also issues related to the Kotoka International Airport. Many thanks once again for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.